It's been a cold, wet day. Oh, Martella's here.
Very nice.
Do you want to get him in on this?
Yep.
All right.
What do we need to do to make this happen?
I think I got it. He should be joining us here in a second.
He's been promoted to panelist.
Can you hear me?
We can now. We cannot see you though. At least I can't.
Well, let me. See if we can get Martella's video going. Martella, do you see a dialog box to activate your video?
Of course.
There we go. All right. Josh asked if we had bud break. We've seen bud break in Chardonnay, but everything else is still pretty well asleep. The Pinot Noir is starting to wake up a little bit, but only the Chardonnay is really kind of pushing out at the moment. And it's been really, really cold these last 2 weeks, pretty wet. So things have been pretty slow in the vineyard. We're just finishing pruning, tying the vines down. So everything's kind of right on schedule. This is actually relatively late, considering the past few years. I think most of you know me. My name is Nathan Kandler. I'm the winemaker here at Thomas Fogarty Winery, and joined by Tom Fogarty Jr.
Hello.
And Michael Martella, the founding winemaker here.
Glad to be here.
So Nathan and I are in our cellar. As you can tell, this isn't just an elaborate sound stage. These are actual Slavonian oak casks with real wine in them. And Martella is at his mountain lair.
That's right.
Sequestered.
I am sequestered.
Not far from here, but he's not here with us at the winery. And we're going to be tasting 2 of our Santa Cruz Mountain Pinot Noirs today, both of which are got some of our favorite wines, I would say. They're very popular in the taste room, very popular in the wine club. It's quite typical for people to receive them and order quite a few extras. So they'll sell them and have them around to drink and enjoy. But as we get these started, we wanted to we're going to do some different things. We'll do some of our maybe more mainstream items, which we have today. The Santa Cruz Mountain Pinot in 14 and 15 vintage. And then we'll do stuff that's a little more obscure at other times. And our plan right now is to do, I think, 2 or 3 of these a week. We'll let people know when they're going to be happening. We'll establish a schedule pretty quickly, but until that happens, we'll try to let people know early in the day or even the day before when they're going to happen. And ideally, we want to try wines that people have access to and have in their kitchen or their cellar. I know Josh is going to be trying these wines with us in real time.
So how do people know about these tastings, and how do they log on?
So far, we have been posting them on social media, Facebook and Instagram today. I think maybe Nathan put out a tweet, but not until just recently. And then we're going to start doing emails as well, so we can get more and more people to join us each time.
So someone cannot log on unless they have a link to log on?
Correct.
They could guess, but it would be.
Well, right.
No, it's unlikely anyone would end up here.
I was just wondering if there's another way to find us. That's all.
You'd have to have the email link or get it off social media at the moment.
I got you.
So the first wine we're going to be tasting is 2014 Santa Cruz Mountains Pinot Noir. This is one of the signature wines produced here at Fogarty Winery. You can drink this wine in Japan, here in Northern California, in New York, Florida. It's probably the one wine we make that has some of the widest distribution. So it's a wine a lot of people know us for.
This wine's available in Poland also,
So,
as our friend Stravko mentioned a little bit ago. Peter Lunk, how are you? Peter, you might have a bottle of 2014 Santa Cruz Mountain Pinot Noir handy. I don't know that you do. I didn't check, but it's possible. We sent we sent, was it one pallet or two pallets that we sent to Poland?
somewhere around there. I can't
Yeah,
remember
it was
the
a
exact
couple of pallets, and it was about half Skyline, our non-estate label, and then half estate wines.
Yeah. Josh asked how many cases. I think we made just over 2,000 cases of this wine, which for us is a pretty large bottling. So this is one of our signature wines and one of the largest bottlings we do. This is a blend of about, I think, 7 or 8 vineyards here in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And this wine now at about age 6, I think, for me, Santa Cruz Mountain Pinot, when it gets into that 6 to 8 year range, is really when the wines start to open up. And they're still primarily fruit driven, but they're starting to show some tertiary characteristics, some earth, spice.
To me, it still is, I experience it as a still young wine.
We just opened it, and it's kind of that's how I like to taste them, because you open it and you taste it as it's, just sort of woken up, and then you get to taste it as it develops in the bottle and in the glass. But this is a wine, I know, Josh, you opened yours quite a while ago, earlier today. It's a wine that will benefit from being opened a little early, or decanted even.
How long has yours been open, Martella?
I just opened them.
You did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Josh, Josh's question is, what's our like channel mix between direct to consumer and wholesale, and in that wholesale channel, how much of it goes to restaurants, how much of it goes to retailers? And we're about 40% DTC, 60% wholesale. Hopefully soon we're going to flip that and go beyond. We'd like to be about 80% direct to consumer. And of the stuff that goes out in wholesale, it's a little more than half on premise or restaurant, and a little less than half retail. The fine wine shop is they're fewer and far between all the time, unfortunately. So we miss those, and we like being in restaurants, but I do wish there were more really nice wine shops in California that you could sell through. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah. Have a good run. Stay dry. Yeah. Peter says, hope the restaurants pick up again soon. So do we, Peter. So do we. The devastation to the restaurant business that could happen is really pretty scary. So, I guess all we can do now is support them by takeout and maybe gift cards. Jeff says he's decanting his Pinot about half a day. You think I'm overdoing it?
I don't. I
I think
think, I mean, what was that, Martella?
No, I think that's a good plan.
I like, if you can, I like opening them up and following them from right when you open them until later. But sometimes that's, that's challenging if you can't drink all day, which we don't advise either. But sometimes the wines, it's interesting. Certain bottles are good right out of the gate, and some do take a little bit of time.
And
These ones are really good, even the second and third day though too.
Yeah.
After they've been opened.
Yep.
That's what I really kind of enjoy doing, is trying them a day or two after they've been opened.
We'll typically at our house, we might open the bottle while we're cooking dinner, have a small glass, kind of the old Italian way of doing it. Have a small glass while you're preparing dinner. Bottle sits with a little headroom on the table, and about an hour later, you start enjoying it for dinner, and that works pretty well. These wines are, I mean, they're I wouldn't say they're designed to age, and should let Nathan really speak to this, but we do expect people to cellar these wines, some of them. So we're not doing anything that makes them particularly wide open when you open the bottle. They will be a little tight maybe right in the beginning.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that we make the wines to age, but sort of the inherent characteristics of most grapes from the Santa Cruz Mountains, the amount of acidity and the tannin, it just sort of lends the wines to being able to develop over time.
Well, I mean, you another way of saying it, you don't do anything to make the wines approachable young.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You don't manipulate them so they drink young.
Peter asked a question, is there something in the winemaking that allows them to last while open? And I would say not necessarily in the winemaking, it's mostly in just the inherent characteristics of the grapes. The wines from this area just have the balance and structure to age and to sort of resist oxidation naturally. Now we can move on to a little 2015 Santa Cruz Mountain Pinot Noir. This is a pretty rare wine around here. I think we may have bottled 6 barrels of this wine. Only about 150 cases. Super, super tiny production. 2015, we had horrible weather in the spring, right around the time when the flowers were developing on the grapevines. And the weather was so bad that we had no pollinization and no fertilization. Essentially, the flowers on the grapevines just died. So we had almost no set. We had 0.2 tons an acre in Pinot Noir, which is basically a wipeout. And this was basically about all that was left.
So it may be that Josh Moser is the only one with us that had a bottle of this handy. Is that correct? Anyone else have a bottle of 2015 Santa Cruz Mountain Pinot Noir that they're able to try? These two wines are pretty different.
Yeah.
One of the things that, we kind of love about being a really small producer and being able to sell a lot of our wines, the 15 being a great example because there was so little of it, but selling a lot of the wines to our direct customers that talk with us and communicate with us all the time about the wines. We're not afraid of some vintage variation. Our 11 is completely different from our 12. And this is another 2 consecutive vintages that are, I like them both a lot. And the 14 has never been better to me than it is right now. But the 15 is just a really different, really, really cantankerous wine.
Yeah, I find the 15s in general, because of the incredibly low yields, they're just supremely concentrated. The fruit character is a little bit darker. I think that 14 Pinot was more on the red fruit spectrum, where this is moving into dark red or almost even to black fruit. And just such a more concentrated wine in a lot of ways. More structured, more tannic, more acidic.
Emmett Welch. Yep, you would, Emmett. There won't be any 15 in the marketplace because I don't know if you were here when Nathan was mentioning that, but it was, the yields were so low that we kept it all for DTC.
Nathan, don't you think in the nose and the 15, it's a little bit more fruit driven than the 14? Or is that just a difference in age?
No, I think I would agree with you. I think that's probably the age, but also just the character of the vintage.
It's a little bit more darker red, huh?
I think, yeah, it's darker in color. It's got, and the hue, you're right, that hue is really vibrant on the 15.
The hue is different, yeah.
Everything was so bizarre because of the exaggerated low yields that year. It's almost like if you hypothetically like concentrated a wine, right? It's just intense and vibrant.
So what was the tonnage in 14?
14 yields were pretty decent. I would say yields were, around the two tons an acre, and in 15 where it was 0.2. So dramatically different. And the wines from 15 have really high acidity and I think quite a bit of tannin too. I think the wines are probably going to age really, really well.
It does have a lot more tannin, but it does have a little bit more fruit to help balance that out.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree.
And Jeff, Mark, you may well have picked up a bottle of the 15 when you were here over the summer, I'm guessing.
Yeah, there's so little of this 15. I'll be honest, I've only tasted it. It's not a wine that I taste that often because there's so little of it. This wine, we typically, as we spoke earlier, this is the wine that we send all over the world to our distribution partners, but there's literally such a small amount of this wine that we're selling it all here at the winery, or have sold. I don't think there's very much left.
And Emmett is here, who mentioned having the 14. Emmett is the wine buyer at the Dragers in Los Altos.
Oh yeah, Emmett.
And so he's sold quite a bit of our Appalachian Pinot, which we appreciate a lot. And yeah, Emmett, there's a good chance you won't have tasted this 15, but I will bring you a bottle so that you can try it. And you'll go straight to the 16 pretty quickly here in your shop.
Martella, which one would you drink tonight if you were having it with dinner?
Well, see, now I have a bottle of each here. Why do I have to choose?
That's a good point.
I'd probably do the 14.
Yeah.
Although I might do the 15 only because it's kind of more interesting to me. I mean, how often do you get to taste a wine made from like 0.2 tons an acre?
Right.
So from a winemaking perspective, I find it really more interesting wine because you don't get to taste a wine kind of like this that often.
Yep, I agree. Tommy?
In like taking off where Michael left off, I think I would do the 15, and I think for the three of us, I think Nathan maybe said something about this. I don't know if you did, Michael, but I have hardly tasted this 15, and I'm now running around sharing wines and talking to buyers and somms at restaurants and all this about our wine. So I've always got an open bottle of 14 in my bag. So it's kind of right now this 15 is sort of like, whoa, what is this? Where did this come from? And it's very interesting to me. So I might do the 15 tonight with dinner personally.
Yeah, there's another Tom Fogarty square that just came up. Is that your dad?
I doubt that, but it's, I think maybe the camera that was,
There it
nope,
is.
it's back. I think maybe a
that's-
text message was coming in or something. And
That would be boring compared to your dad.
that is for sure.
Peter asked a question, how did 15 work out for other producers in the Santa Cruz Mountains? It was pretty uniformly poor. I think we probably were poor end of poor. Some other people had lower yields, but we were definitely one of the hardest hit. Where we sit at the northern end of the Santa Cruz Mountains, and we're just below that big kind of marine intrusion right at Windy Hill. And Martella, you probably remember this. I just remember for like a week straight in May, just going out into the vineyard, and every day it was maybe 50 degrees, and it's kind of like it is outside today.
It looks like it is outside today, but it wasn't in March. It was like you said, really late into
Late May.
Well, and we had bud break earlier that year too.
Yep.
The whole thing was a perfect storm of awfulness.
Yeah.
But Peter, since you know the area pretty intimately, there's rising terrain to the north of us with Windy Hill, and there's rising terrain to the south of us with Mount Melville. And so we're kind of right in this channel that gets, the fog and the wind just rip right through it. So we're in a really vulnerable spot.
Yeah, Emmett asked if we're going to be doing this tomorrow. I think, Emmett, we're going to be doing this Wednesday at 5, and we'll try to make sure that that everybody gets the link. We're going to be sending the email out to our club members. We'll be putting it on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. So I think our tentative plan is to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5.
And we don't know which wines yet, Jeff. I apologize for that. As we turn this into the well-oiled machine that we know we can make it, we'll have that information out more quickly. But for the moment, we're just kind of asking people to join in and hear what we have to say about these wines and have some conversation and join in if you can. Eventually, we're going to be dealing largely with the club shipments. So the folks that have received the club shipments will have an opportunity to taste the wines that they just got along with us. And then we're going to do other things like this that are more focused on wines that are available in the marketplace. And Emmett, I'll make sure you know which wines we're going to do a bit earlier as well.
All right, we are kind of nearing the end of our little tasting here. As Tommy was saying, hopefully in the near future, everybody has at least one of the wines at home with them, so they can taste and follow along, and you can ask really detailed questions, and
That'd be great.
it'd be kind of fun to.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, in lieu of actually being able to share a glass, it's funny how you take things for granted in life. Instead of being able to cheers, but I guess we'll have to resort to virtual tastings, but it's better than nothing, I guess. We're excited. We've got, we make such a range of Pinot Noirs and Chardonnays here from such different terroirs. I think we could really get a lot of mileage, but this is a really kind of efficient way to kind of go through a lot of wines in a short amount of time and talk about where they're from and how they're made and how people drink them. So it could be a lot of fun getting together a couple times a week. Anybody have any final thoughts on the 14-15 comparison?
Any suggestions about what wines we might do next time?
You can leave them on if you have any comments or questions or wines you'd like us to taste, put them in the chat panel here, or leave them on our Instagram feed or in Facebook or tweet them to us, and we'll gladly take you up, because the more interactive we can make this and the more we can get participation from you at home, I think the better for everybody.
I'm kind of seduced by this 15.
Yeah, there's a lot to it for sure.
It's got a very seductive nose. As it opens up, it really is a pretty incredible nose.
The 15?
The 15.
Yeah.
Boy, it's very floral, and it's getting more and more friendly here by the minute.
There's a little higher percentage of whole cluster in the 15 as well. I think that really
Yeah.
shows too. It's got that really kind of pleasant floral, kind of almost quite green, but like fresh herb kind of character. Peter says, I appreciate you guys doing this. It's a nice break from the news cycle. Oh, this is a nice break for us from watching the news as well. So we're happy to share in. Moser says, what's the alcohol in the two wines? Tommy, can you?
I'll have a look.
Well, the 14 is
No, Martella's got it.
13.0.
13.0?
13.0. The 15 is 13.6.
Yeah, so the 15 is just a touch riper than the 14. I would expect. I think that plays out in the mouth when you taste the wine.
When you have 0.2 tons an acre, they move very quickly.
Yeah. Well, we also too, when the yields are that low, right? You're the one that taught me this, Michael. The acidities are so high in those really low yields. You have to wait to get the fruit balanced, I think.
Gotta let them hang.
And Peter, we will add other producers and other wines and interesting varieties and lots of stuff to make things interesting. We're always very open and willing to talk about the wines other than our own that we really like. So plan on seeing that for sure.
Right on. Well, if anybody else has any final questions, or comments, we'd love to hear them or answer them now. And otherwise, I think we'll maybe wrap things up for the day and wish you all, to your friends and family, good health, and stay safe and stay sane, locked in your house, so to speak.
Stay healthy.
We'll be back, I think, on Wednesday. We'll try to give a little bit more notice on about which wines we'll feature on that day, and we'll go from there. Martella, thanks for joining us. Yeah, Martella, thank you for joining us from your lair.
Yeah. It's a good break.
Yeah, I'll bet. I'm almost done with season 2 of Drive to Survive, so I'm gonna.
God, it's taken you a long time.
I'm savoring it. It's good stuff.
I think I've got one episode left. All right, you guys, thanks very, very much. And we will we'll see y'all in a couple of days.
Thank you, guys. Stay safe.